Update. Am I the a-hole for respecting my late wife's wishes about keeping her family out? Original story. My wife unfortunately passed away last year when our daughter was only 3 months old. It was very difficult to get through, but my little girl and I are keeping it together. My daughter is 16 months now, and there's been pressure from my wife's sister to let her side of the family see my daughter. The issue is, my wife had absolutely no contact with her family since she was 18. So 16 years of not seeing them. Her home life was something she never wanted to talk about. It always made her upset, so I never pushed her to tell me. All I know is that they were manipulative and abusive in some form. She left as soon as she was 18, changed her last name, and never spoke to them again. 4 years ago, she got into contact with her older sister, and she's the only person my wife allowed into our lives. By that, I mean we met through video chat, but never actually in person. We still maintained contact after my wife passed, and we met a couple times before and during my wife's funeral. My sister-in-law called me a few weeks ago. She mentioned her parents would really like to meet their granddaughter and want to start over. They didn't attend my wife's funeral because they knew she wouldn't want them to be there. One thing my wife always made clear is that she did not want them near our daughter. Ever. I told my sister-in-law this. Well, she got very upset. She said it's been years, and yes, her parents were awful people. Again, won't say exactly what they did, but losing their daughters made them reflect on things. And they want to meet my daughter since my wife never gave them that chance. She's still trying to convince me, and so far I've said no. Each time I just feel more and more bad for denying them. But it's what my wife wanted. Her parents found my Facebook. Pretty sure sister-in-law might have told them, and I've gotten dozens of messages begging me to let my daughter know her mom's side of the family. And I shouldn't keep her from knowing her grandparents for past mistakes. None of them will leave me alone, and sister-in-law has said a few times that I may be grieving losing a wife, but to have some empathy for them losing a child. Because right now, I'm being too heartless for denying them the chance to meet the only piece of my wife they have left. I am at my wit's end with this, because I am not sure if I am being a-hole or not. I don't know the whole reason why my wife never wanted to see them again. Even if I did though, I'd still like to honor her wish. The way they are being, however, makes it hard not to wonder if I am. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not a a-hole. All I know is they were manipulative and abusive in some form. The best prediction of future behavior is past behavior. None of them will leave me alone. I'm at my wit's end with this because I am not sure if I'm being a-hole or not. You are getting a glimpse of their manipulative tactics. One thing my wife always made clear is that she did not want them near our daughter. Ever. Honor her wish. If the family really didn't attend a funeral to respect her wishes, I'm sure they'd do the same here. Don't let them near your daughter ever, OP. And talk to a lawyer. The death of a parent can be grounds for grandparents' rights. Do not even answer. Not answering is a response, and many times better than saying no. You gotta protect your daughter the way your wife tried to protect her and herself. The only thing you know is that they were manipulative, yet your wife could get very upset if her family was mentioned. So imagine all the trauma she had to deal with. Maybe she was the scapegoat, and that's why her sister defends them. Either way, break contact with the sister too. Does she keep in contact with you out of genuine interest of her nephew/niece, or because she sees that the door could be slightly open to let her parents in, now that the factor didn't want them is dead? What if one day you meet with the sister and suddenly you see 2 older people with her? They won't let you escape. This is not a coincidence that now they want to be in your lives. They already wanted to insert themselves, and a channel to that was the sister, who has probably given them a lot of information and photos you may have shared with her. This sister-in-law is fighting her parents' fight for them now, and the fact that neither she nor your wife told them exactly why your wife went no contact is terrifying. She's crossing boundaries left and right. She's shown you who she is, so believe her and cut her off. Not a-hole. Do not let them have anything to do with your daughter. The last thing you want is to allow them to have a relationship with your daughter. And then after a while, you see exactly why your wife didn't want anything to do with them. Because depending where you live, if they have an established relationship with your daughter, they can go for grandparents' rights. As of right now, they have no grounds. Cut the sister-in-law off too. She's just giving you a taste of how toxic the rest of your wife's family are. Protect your child. Thank you for the advice. With everything on my plate, it's just been so overwhelming, and now this whole situation. I want to be able to honor my wife's wishes, whatever the reason was that made her cut all contact with them. And now for the update. Thank you everyone for all the lovely comments and support. I was really worn down with this whole ordeal, so all your input was so very appreciated. There were a lot of you that expressed your concerns about what my wife's family's intentions were and warned me about taking precautions to keep my daughter safe. I have taken these into consideration and have made steps to ensure they have no access to any information that could disclose our location. And yes, in the end, I did decide it was best to cut off all contact, not only with my wife's parents, but her sister too. I tried to get through to her many times about why I'd like to respect my wife's call on this since she knew her family best and what they did. Despite all the reassurance that her parents have changed, she still refused to actually say what went down. So that was not all convincing for me. Once I blocked them all, I was getting calls from different numbers the following days. I sent one final message to her sister stating they're never allowed near me or my daughter, and if they ever tried to come harass us, I will get authorities involved. Since then, it was radio silence for the last couple weeks, but I decided to play it safe a few days ago and changed my phone number. I've also deleted my Facebook since I don't use it that often, but I've put my other social media accounts on private. Got many great suggestions from many of you about how to make sure they have absolutely no access to my daughter, so I really appreciate that. I've saved a few of these comments in case I need some extra tips in the future as my daughter gets older and starts school. Since I last posted and have caught contact, I feel like I can finally breathe. You have no idea how stressful and draining the whole thing was for me. So really, thank you all for the help. I've been more at peace putting this all behind me and focusing on my beautiful little girl. Just wanted to leave this update since I know there was a lot of concern about how this would all play out. Thanks again, internet strangers. You can tell you did the right thing because they were already bringing a lot of bad energy without them being in yours or your daughter's life yet. And now never. You have no idea how stressful and draining the whole thing was for me, so really. So very true. My God, I didn't realize just how exhausted I truly was until after I completely blocked them off. Please tell me you have a will and a plan if, God forbid, anything happens to you. These people have shown themselves to be untrustworthy in concerns to your child. Oh, absolutely. We already had one prepared before my wife passed. My daughter's godparents, my sister and her husband, would be the ones to look after her. I remember reading your original post, and I'm happy to hear that you worked it out. Based on the way your sister-in-law was deflecting the question of what happened, I think the reason why your late wife went no contact, and why she never told you, would absolutely justify keeping your child away from them. The possibilities are endless, but all progressively worse. If you know if the authorities were involved or other people in your late wife's life that would have an idea, it might be worth it to look into it, / get a private investigator, just so you have that peace of mind. Regardless, you made the right decision, and best wishes. I've thought about that, but part of me isn't sure if I'd feel better or worse knowing what happened and what exactly it was that my wife had to live with in silence. I'm still thinking about it. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister-in-law back in my home after she found out a family member was dying, caused my cat's disappearance, and laughed about it? Right before lockdown, I invited my brother and his wife, my sister-in-law, over for dinner. We just got a new cat who was kiddish and still adjusting. We made a little nest for the cat in our laundry room. The room is an exterior door which we keep closed and locked 100% of the time. The cat loved the laundry room because of the warmth and the darkness / quiet. I introduced my sister-in-law to the cat. Then we went to have dinner in the dining room. My sister-in-law got a distressing call from someone on her side of the family about a dying relative. She was upset. She went into the laundry room to take the call. Upon hearing the news that the family member was about to receive last rites, she unlocked the exterior door and went outside to get fresh air, leaving the door wide open. Our cat darted out the door. We haven't seen him since. My children were heartbroken at the loss of their cat. At first, I was in a place of just talking it up to that's life. After all, my sister-in-law had just received a very upsetting call. I didn't blame her for having a strong emotional reaction. But a few months into lockdown, she started making jokes about the incident. She laughed it off when I asked her to stop because the loss of our cats was upsetting. The jokes have continued, and I've made a decision that she won't be welcome in our household until she apologized for joking about the incident. My brother's pretty mortified, but says he doesn't want to get in the middle of it. My kids don't really care one way or the other because they're not a huge fan of her. She started complaining to other family members though, so I have to know. Reddit, am I the a-hole for banning her from the household until she apologizes for her jokes? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. That's horrible. What exactly was the funny part of that incident? You losing your cat or her family member dying? Exactly. I was wondering the same thing. What is there to joke about? The fact that she's making jokes about the situation makes me wonder if she didn't do it on purpose, opening the door knowing the cat was in the room. Not the a-hole. I get that she was upset at first, and I don't blame her for it. But to make jokes about it, and then to not stop making jokes when asked to stop, that I don't understand. I'm sorry for her loss, and I'm sorry for yours. But she's the a-hole for not apologizing. Not the a-hole. A pet is always to some degree a family member, usually more so to kids involved. Causing the cat to run away is bad, but can be explained with stressful news. Joking about it is heartless and shows a lack of empathy for the kid's situation that would make me reconsider my relationship with her if I was your brother. Not the a-hole. What a heartless person. No empathy or awareness. There's nothing funny about that situation. I can't imagine how she's not recognizing that it was forgiven only because of the grave circumstances. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be around my husband's stepsister anymore? My female 33 husband, male 34, has a stepsister, female 34, whose every relationship she has ended up in court. She always claims it's not her fault. But when the facts come out, it doesn't always seem that way. When she was married, she was horrible to her husband, always made fun of him, yelled at him if he didn't do things for her, etc. She'd be condescending to him and would rarely let him go out to have fun. She's very overweight and very unhappy about that. Also, I have learned that she's unhappy that she doesn't have children by now. When we first started dating, my husband used to talk about how she was the worst and hated her and how awful she was. And I would tell him that he should work it out and be nice and be the bigger person. After all, it's his sibling. They since have figured it out. My husband also has a problem where when he gets mad, he gets crazy and will start lying. You can't calm him down. If I don't walk away from it, the lies and outbursts get more and more insane. Recently, my husband was mad. I think it was that I didn't clean when I said I would. He started getting more irate. And after a while, falsely claimed that I kicked him and that he was going to call the cops and destroy my life and tell them that I beat him. I did not do this. I left to create space, and because that was a scary situation. He immediately went to his stepsister. They made a plan to continue the lies. She egged him on to divorce me, defriended me in social media to create the story that I shouldn't have access to her info because it's dangerous. She had never heard of any problems in our relationship before, until this day. No one had. I tried hard to have a good relationship with her, so it was shocking that she immediately was happy and told him what he needed to do instead of giving me the benefit of the doubt. I had to go to my mother-in-law to get my husband to stop and admit what they were doing. He then admitted the lies and also told his stepsister. She said it didn't matter and doesn't change a thing. I believe that she wants my husband to divorce me so that she doesn't have to be the only divorce in the family. She sent him mediators and told him not to speak with me. She egged him on to get a lawyer. She since talked to him on the phone and started making up things like how she sees I'm so cold to him. This isn't true. I've asked our mutual friends and they tell me it's the opposite. I've asked his mom and she said absolutely not. I've told my husband we can work it out, but I'm extremely hurt and feel uncomfortable being around his stepsister knowing that she's trying to create a situation where he leaves me. I have no problem with him being around her. I just would not like to be. especially since neither of them have done anything to apologize about it all. And I now know she's trying to manipulate my marriage. But my husband says that's not an option for me, and is angry about that. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be around his stepsister anymore and have dinners with her? You're the a-hole for trying to work it out. Why would you stay married to such a person? He's a copy of the sister. Sorry, I might be harsh, but geez, respect yourself. Okay, not the a-hole, but I'm so confused here. Your husband wanted to lie to get you arrested for DV. Lied to his family about it and wanted to divorce you. He has not apologized yet and refused to do the one thing you ask of him to make the relationship work, for you not to have to interact with his sister. But yet, you put all the blame on his sister as if she started all this. The name of this post should read, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be around my husband anymore? Not the a-hole. You need to leave him. He is just as toxic. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't be around his sister anymore either. I also wouldn't be around a husband either. I'd be sure to have evidence that they lied and made it all up as well just to be safe. Knowing that your husband would lie and say those things is scary, and you forgiving him could come back to bite you. I'd run far, far away. I do. He does that stuff enough that when he gets that way, I start recording. Even with the recording, he still tried to maintain his lies.